They laughed. Oh, they laughed. They mocked, whispered behind my back, threw stones while hiding their hands. They acted like I was invisible until they needed someone to blame. And now they regret everything. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter anymore, because I'm no longer the fool who begged to be seen. I'm no longer the punching bag for their insecurities. I've grown past the version of me that cried at night, wondering why the world was so cruel. You see, pain has a way of shaping people. It either crushes you into dust or forges you into something unbreakable. And I became the latter. They think regret is enough, that just because they now see my worth, I should open my arms and let them back in. No, regret is a funny thing. It's useless. It doesn't undo the past. It doesn't erase the scars. It doesn't bring back the years they stole from me. And now, I stand tall, not because of their apologies, not because I proved them wrong, but because I proved myself right. This world, it never cared about the broken. It steps on the weak, uses them, discards them. I learned that the hard way, but the moment I stopped seeking their approval, the moment I let go of the need to be understood, that was the moment I became unstoppable. And now, they watch from the sidelines, haunted by the echoes of their own laughter, realizing too late that the joke was on them all along. Because I didn't just survive, I became something they can never ignore again. And that is my revenge. They'll regret everything, every word, every smirk, every time they turn their backs. They'll replay the past in their minds, over and over, wishing they could change it. But regret is worthless now. You see, there's a moment in life when you realize the world isn't fair, not because you did something wrong, but because people need a villain to make themselves feel better. I was that villain for them, not because I was evil, but because I was different, because I didn't fit their mold, because I saw the world for what it really was, and they couldn't stand that. They wanted me to bow, to break, to shrink into something small, something forgettable. And for a while, I did. I let them dictate my worth. I let their words carve wounds into my skin. I let their laughter echo in my head like a curse. But every fire needs fuel, and every villain needs an origin story. They created me, not with kindness, not with love, but with their cruelty, their apathy. They built me from the ashes of their own mistakes, and now they want to take it all back. Now they say they didn't mean it, that it was just a joke, that they didn't realize the damage they were causing. But here's the truth. They knew. They knew exactly what they were doing. They just never thought I'd rise. They thought I'd stay down, that I'd always be beneath them. They never imagined a day would come when they'd look up and see me standing above them. And the best part? I don't need their validation anymore. I don't crave their approval, their regret, their guilt. It's meaningless, because I have built something greater than their acceptance. I have built myself. They'll regret everything. They already do. But it doesn't matter, not anymore. Because I don't live for their approval. I don't exist for their acceptance. Once upon a time, maybe. But that version of me, he died. He was buried beneath the weight of their judgment, their betrayal, their laughter. And from his grave, I rose, the person standing before them now. He doesn't beg. He doesn't ask for a seat at their table. He builds his own. You see, they thought I was weak because I was kind. They mistook my patience for submission. They thought I would always be there, waiting, hoping, longing. But people like me, we don't stay down forever. We don't remain in the shadows they try to cast over us. They spend years, maybe even decades, thinking they've won. Thinking that their words broke something inside us that could never be repaired. And then, one day, they see us again. But we aren't the same. The eyes that once searched for kindness now burn with something else. The hands that once reached out now build walls too high for them to climb. The heart that once longed for connection now beats for something greater. And that's when they realize they lost us. Not in death, not in distance, but in something far worse, indifference. I no longer hate them. I no longer wish for revenge in the way they expect, because revenge means you still care. And I don't. They regret everything. They replay the past over and over, wondering if they had just been kinder. Would things have been different? But it's too late for that, because I've outgrown them. I've outgrown their world, their rules, their games. The very people who once stood above me now look up, reaching, grasping. But I am too far beyond them now. And that is the greatest revenge of all. They'll regret everything. They'll regret every time they looked down on me. Every time they brushed me aside like I was nothing. Every moment they saw my struggle and chose to do nothing. They'll regret it all. But the beauty of regret is that it changes nothing. It doesn't rewind time. It doesn't erase the scars. It doesn't bring back the nights I spent in silence, wondering why I wasn't enough. It doesn't undo the years I wasted trying to prove myself to people who were never worth it. I used to think if I was good enough, they would accept me. If I was strong enough, they would respect me. If I was valuable enough, they would finally see me. I was wrong, because the truth is, they were never blind. They saw me. They saw my worth. They knew exactly what I was capable of, and that's why they tried to break me. They feared what I could become. They feared the day I would no longer need them. They feared the day I would wake up and realize I was never beneath them, that they were only standing taller because I was on my knees. And the moment I stood up, they lost. That's what they regret. Not the pain they caused, not the words they said. They regret that they failed to keep me small, because now they look at me and they don't see the person they tried to destroy. They see the person they can never touch again. And that is the price of their cruelty. There was a time when I wanted revenge. I wanted them to feel everything I felt. I wanted them to hurt the way I hurt. I wanted them to drown in the same loneliness they left me in, but not anymore. Because pain, it's temporary. Suffering, it fades. What really lasts? Irrelevance. I don't need to destroy them. I don't need to make them suffer. They've already lost. Because now, I don't think about them. Now, I don't need them. And that eats them alive. They regret everything. But it won't matter anymore, because I moved on. I built a life without them. I found happiness they can't touch. I became someone they'll never be able to reach. And that is the deepest cut of all. They can beg for forgiveness. They can wish they had done things differently. But regret is a prison. And I walked free. They'll regret everything. But regret is a funny thing, isn't it? It only comes when the damage is already done. They don't regret their actions when they're laughing. They don't regret their words when they're surrounded by others just like them. They don't regret their cruelty when they still believe they hold power over you. No. Regret only creeps in when the tables turn, when they realize the person they mocked, the person they cast aside, the person they swore would never amount to anything, is now the one standing above them. But I want you to understand something. This isn't about revenge. It's not about proving them wrong, because the truth is, their opinions were never the problem. It was my belief in them that kept me shackled. It was my need for their approval that held me back. It was my own self-doubt that let them win for so long. And once I let that go, everything changed. I stopped looking for closure. I stopped waiting for apologies. I stopped hoping they'd see my worth. Because I realized, people like that, they only see what they choose to see. And now they see me, not as the weak, desperate version they once knew, not as the outcast, the misfit, the nobody they ignored. No, Now they see what I was always meant to be, untouchable. They regret everything, but I don't need their regret. I don't need their guilt. I don't need their second thoughts, their what ifs, their too late realizations. Because I won. Not by seeking revenge, not by lowering myself to their level, not by wasting my energy trying to make them understand. I won by walking away. I won by becoming someone they could never break again. And now, their regret? It's their prison, not mine. Because while they sit there, drowning in what they wish they could undo, I'm out there, living, and nothing eats a person alive more than that.